Let's go into a fan favorite here. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Boo.
Am I going first on this one?
Have at it. Have at it.
Whoever wants to go first.
Oh boy. Okay. All right.
So this is the entire game franchise, not just the original, but all of the games.
All 80,000 games.
All right. So there's two ways I could look at this, right? I could look at it from the game purely by itself, or I could look at it at the fucking dividends it is paid out for me specifically.
I guess you can.
Because when it comes down to
It's at the standard for Mark's bank account.
what I just said about all those criteria for a game, it's like, oh, it's great, engaging storyline, makes you want to keep playing, and the replayability. Whenever I play that game, even if I play it over again on my channel, people still want to see it. It's incredible. I'm not criticizing it in any way for that. I'm saying like, man, that's the golden goose. That just keeps giving. But at the same time, if I'm being absolutely realistic about it, I think the game is okay. I think it was really interesting when it came out because it did kind of change the paradigm of horror games. And a lot of people could say for better or for worse. But one thing you cannot deny about the first game, even if it did have a lot of cheap jump scares, it nailed atmosphere.
Yeah, it did.
It nailed mystery and a desire to peer into the darkness. And it created this sense of isolation that I think spilled over into a lot of other games, even if they didn't emulate the style of it, in terms of having the protagonist be completely helpless. And I'm not saying it was the first. Amnesia did it. Amnesia did that. You were completely helpless, but in a way where you couldn't even move. You were on the defensive. Whereas Amnesia, you're running away, and that's a very different action. When you're playing Five Nights at Freddy's, you're completely defensive. All of your actions, and you do have many defenses, all of your actions are contingent on you staying in that place and keeping people out. And that is very different from keeping people away. They're very different things. The fact that you can't run anywhere backs you into a corner. And that feeling is one of the first times that you've actually had that sensation in a game. So I do think it's very good. It's not enough for genre defining, except it kind of is because of the amount of fan games that come out of there. Come back to me.
He's gone. We lost him.
Come back to me.
All right.
Bob, give your opinion.
I mean, I've already said in this episode that I'm not a huge horror game fan. I played the first couple Five Nights games, and like, they're scary. There's a lot of jump scares, and I certainly appreciate that it still is a huge thing for you in terms of YouTube stuff because people are crazy for it. I would say I get that people like the game. The lore and everything it draws you in, and everyone just wants to know what the hell's going on and who's who and what are all these. Are there so many haunted thingies and whatever? But that part makes me like it less. Like I think the game is interesting enough on its own, and I can see the replayability for sure. But everyone just freaking out about it, and every time, what's his name, Scott Cawthorn would release a teaser, people are like analyzing the pixels in the shadows. That's purple guy, and there was a word on this paper. It's referencing the bite of 86 or something. Like all this shit, people lose their mind over it, and I have this complex that we've talked about, I think before, or I've talked about, where if something is insanely popular and every person I encounter is like, you gotta watch the CVS series or you gotta play this game, my mind is like, oh,
yeah,
cringy, gross, I hate it. So I feel like I would put it at a B or C because it's a good, fine game and scary. But all of the people constantly talking about it and all of the rip-off merch everywhere, every town carnival you go to or whatever, there's like knockoff Freddy Fazbear shirts and stuff. It's too meh. Bleh.
All right, so B for you, Mark. Where would you put it?
I'm hesitant to put it in a genre-defining thing because it runs the risk of putting everything in a genre-defining thing. So, what did you put it at, Bob?
B, but my opinion carries little weight compared to yours. On this one.
I would put it at B as well. Ooh. Because
Spicy.
It is a good game. I think it's a very good game, and it's an iconic game, and it's very fun. Very fun. Oh God!
I feel like you don't always have that much fun because you play it on harder and harder, and then when you try to do the 420 or whatever, all that drives you insane.
I guess I was compelled to do it though. Maybe it's because it's hard to give it a fair judgment right now. I would have to go back in time and try to channel who I was back then, which back then, if I had to judge it at the time that I played it, which is the only fair time for me to judge it, I would have given it an A back then, no matter what my feelings after all these other games came out and all the lore got convoluted. The original game, I would put Five Nights at Freddy's 2 at an A, easily. Sister Location at an A. There's enough games in there when it was at its heyday that I would put at A to give the whole franchise an A. I wouldn't say S. I wouldn't say S out of fairness to all the other games that I want to put in S, but I would put it in A to honor it enough to be like, okay, you can sit at A. I'm proud of you. You did it, champ. You were there for me, and goodness gracious, I'm gonna keep milking you for a while.